Okay, yeah. Hi, everyone. So, in this session, we are majorly focus on building the event-driven architecture with the help of the services which we discussed in the previous sessions, which are SNS, SQS, and S3 events, and how to process the events with the Lambda. So, it's a kind of combination of the previous events, previous sessions. Okay. So, in this session, we are going to build event-driven architecture with S3. S3 will send the events to SNS. Okay. So SNS will send the events to SQS. SQS, through the SQS, we will receive the events from. We will receive the events to a Lambda. So that is what we are going to do it. It's fully hands-on session. Okay. So this is the architecture diagram. So like when user upload the files to S3 under the orders folder. So S3 will send the events to SNS. So and SQS will be the subscriber of SQS will be the subscriber of SNS. Okay. So and then Lambda is the subscriber of SQS. Okay. So that is how our message will be sent to the uh, message is being processed here. So let's take one of the real world scenarios. You have some e-commerce application. Okay, so in that e-commerce applications, some of the data, some of the events, it should be processed by some specific services. Okay, some order related in events will be processed by some order services. Okay, so in that case, so you can create your topic in SNS. Okay, order related messages, payment related messages, everything will be stored into these specific topics. Okay, so that messages will be sent to the queue. So queue will buffer the messages, so it will not allow to lose the messages to before processing it. Okay, so once the consumer is ready, consumer will receive the message and then it will process it. If the message is everything is fine, then it will remove the message from the queue. Okay, so that is how the event driven architecture we can build it. Okay, so yeah, now let's the entire architecture we are going to build with AWS CDK. Okay, so now let's get into that. Let me share my screen to the Visual Studio Code. Yeah, I hope the screen is visible. Yeah, yes. So the flow of the data flow we already discussed. Okay, so now let's check the resources one by one. So first we are creating the S3 bucket here. Okay, and then we are creating the Lambda function here, which will process the events, and then we are creating the SNS topic. Okay, and then we are creating SQS queue, we are creating it. Okay, and then the topic we are adding subscription to SQS. Okay, SNS will send the events to SQS. That is what we are doing it. So and then here line number 60, we are subscribe the Lambda to SQS queue. So we are adding Lambda to as a subscription of SQS. So SQS will send the events to Lambda function. Okay, so that is what we are doing it here. So line number 60, and then we are granting the permission to the Lambda queue, granting the permission to consume the messages from the Lambda. So that is what we are doing it. And then we are adding the events from the bucket side. We are adding the events. Bucket will send the messages to SNS. Okay, so that is the how our architecture is working. First SNS will send first S3 will send the events to SNS. SNS will send the messages to SQS, and then SQS will send the messages to Lambda. So that is how we are doing it. So here we are adding the bucket policy to send the events to SNS. Yeah. So that is all about the architecture, the infrastructure code. And then now let's go to the Lambda function. So Lambda is actually receive the messages from SQS. So SQS object, it has SNS object. Okay. SNS object, it has S3 event. Okay. So that is the architecture it has. So S3 event structure, this is the S3 event structure. It has records, the bucket name and object, the key size and everything it has. Okay. So that we are doing marshalling So we are just processing SNS event, SQS events, sorry. So SQS events, we are processing it from the body, we are getting it, and then we are SNS messages also, we are getting it from SQS body data, SQS payload. Okay, we are doing unmorsel here. Once we are getting the SNS message, we are getting the SNS S3 message from SNS object. Okay, so that unmorsel we are doing it here. Once we get the S3 record, and then we are just displaying the files and records and everything, which files we get it, that we are displaying it here. So that is the architecture of the Lambda code and then the AWS CDK code. Now let's deploy this code in AWS. Okay, CDK. Since so it will, sorry, it will create the cloud formation template for my AWS CDK code. So looks good. Now let's deploy it. CDK deploy. We're just asking the permission to verify the resources. Okay, now the resources are deployed. Now let's check the AWS dashboard. Let me share my screen again. I hope the screen is visible. Now let's go to the S3 buckets. So we should see the processing bucket has been created here. Okay. So even queue is also processing you created. And then let's go and check the configuration, event configuration in bucket. So the properties in events, it's sending the events to SNS topic. Okay. So let's open the SNS. So SNS will receive the messages from S3, and then it will send the, so the subscription is SQS here. So SQS queue is the subscription of SNS. Okay. And then in our queue, Lambda is the subscription of SQS. So that is what we are seeing it. Now let's open the Lambda also. So this is the SQS function. So it just inputs would be SQS. Great. So now let's create the folder and upload the file. Orders. Under the orders folder, let's upload add files. Some AP amount of data. So let's upload this one. Let's upload this one. Yeah. Okay. Now file is being uploaded. So now let's go to the Lambda function. So the monitor. Let's check the event CloudWatch logs. Okay, yeah, this is the latest timing, the latest log has been uploaded. So here we should see all the details, event details. So this is the message, SNS message. This is SQS. Yeah, this is the SQS message. The finally we should see. Yeah, this is the SQS message body, events, SNS message. Yeah. So at the most bottom we can see the file is uploaded, the uploaded file size and name and everything we can see it here. So this is how the data is being passed from various services. Okay, so this is how we have to structure our event driven architecture from SNS and SQS and in Lambda. Okay, so this code also available in GitHub, so you can see uh, you should see that actually 8 SNS SQS. Okay, so the data is available in this one, S3, SNS, SQS, Lambda. So this is where you can see all the messages, all the CDK code and Lambda code, everything you can see it here. So yeah, that's all about the this session. So so this is how we have to configure our event driven architecture with the AWS resources. Okay, so yeah, that's it about this session. So we will meet we will discuss in further upcoming sessions. Okay, yeah. Thanks everyone. Thanks guys.